Hello, Louie. Hello, my sweetness. And hello, my sweet friends. Welcome to DIY with Nadia. Today, I have a year-round wreath for you. This wreath you can obviously make to any holiday, but I love the way it turned out. We're using a Dollar Tree sign, and we're just using beautiful neutral colors. I hope you like the style I use. I hope you like the greenery that I put in. It's just one of those wreaths that you can do whatever you want. Also, I think this is the kind of wreath that is a perfect gift for someone who doesn't have a lot of room for many wreaths or can't afford many wreaths. You give them this wreath and they can have it up 365 days a year, and it's something that's special, that's beautiful, and this wreath turned out pretty full. So you know what, without further ado, let's get started. A house is made of walls and beams. A home is made of love and dreams. How beautiful is this little quote? I absolutely loved it, and this is the inspiration for today's wreath. So for the supplies, this is the sign we're going to use. For our deco mesh, I am going to be using this light and dark burlap, and it's an ivory color. It's not really white, but it's so lovely, and it's 18 feet. 18 feet is 6 yards. Look at this. It's going to work so beautifully. The green that we have is pretty much a year-round green. It's not a Christmas green. It's more of like a sagey green, and it's going to work beautifully with the greenery I got on clearance. It was either Michael's or Joann's. Then I have some pipe cleaners. The ribbon that I'm going to be using, I also got on clearance at Joann's. Really good prices here. They're both wired. They have some writing on them. This one's 2.5, this one's 1.5 inches, and the length is 4 yards. For each, we are going to make them work for us. And of course, the wreath form that I'm going to be using is a 14-inch metal wreath form from the Dollar Tree. As a side note, I am going to be using a glue skillet when I'm going to be attaching the greenery. It just makes it much easier. But of course, you can just use a glue gun. Now it's time to attach our pipe cleaners. We're going to be using the 18 pipe cleaner method. The way I like to think about it is break it down into sections. This wreath form has 6 sections. Each section is going to have 3. So the first pipe cleaner is going to go on row 1 and 2, just like this. And then when I give it a twist or 2, I'm going to face it towards the center of the wreath form. Pipe cleaner number 2 is going to go on rows 3 and 4, and same thing, we're just going to do a twist or 2, but this time I'm going to face it out. This is going to help us when we're attaching the deco mesh. And twist 1 and 2. As you can see, the outside pipe cleaners are to the sides of the center one, and just like this, we are going to repeat the same thing over and over until we're done with all 18 pipe cleaners. We're going to have 6 on the inside, and we're going to have 12 on the outside. Here's what your wreath form should look like when you're all done. Before we bring in our deco mesh, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out. If I start on this pipe cleaner, I'm going to make 10-inch loops going all the way around until I come back to where I have started. Then here, I'm going to go flat with my deco mesh to one of the outside pipe cleaners, to the nearest one, and then you're going to continue making 10-inch loops going all the way around until you come back to the one where you started, and then we're going to attach. My deco mesh is all ready. It's being rolled onto the table, and I'm going to go in about 2 inches and start collecting. Because this roll is so long, I always like to go to the tail and make sure that it's fairly even. It's not going to be even, of course, but if there's anything that kind of is too deep, push it out so that you have a nice tail, and then your loops are going to be nice and even. Going to that first pipe cleaner on the inside, I'm going to give this pipe cleaner a nice twist. And then I'm going to grab a zip tie, and it doesn't matter how long. This one's fairly long. I think this is like an 8-inch one. 6 inches is just fine if you have those. And I'm going to zip tie. I zip tied about 1 inch from my pipe cleaner. That way that tail actually is straightened out and it lays nicely against the wreath form. Any stray deco mesh we're just going to cut off so it's nice and clean. Facing my pipe cleaner up, I'm going to start making my 10-inch loops. My 10 inches on this board is this light square right here. So I'm going to put my pipe cleaner right in the beginning, hold it nice and taut, go to the other side, and there's my loop. The reason I showed that is I want to show you that I'm not being very loose with my loops because we do have 6 yards and 10 inches should be more than enough, but you do want to make sure that you don't over grab and then you don't have enough at the end. So just nice and taut. I got my 10 inches and off I go, going all the way around. I'm not sure if my camera turned off accidentally, but I wanted to show you the transition between row 1 and row 2. Right here is where I completed row 1, and then I went flat right here to the next pipe cleaner, and then I started to make 10-inch loops going all the way around. I am on my last loop and I'm going to go right there where we started the outside row. After a nice twist or two, I'm going to cut off about 3 inches just to make sure I have a nice long tail. And I pretty much have no deco mesh left, which is what we expected. Now this tail, I'm going to bring it back and put it between the 2 center rows, just like this. That way we can attach it to row 3 using a zip tie. I'm going to push it back down right there. And I'm zip tying about 1 inch from the actual pipe cleaner, cutting off the tail. And then I'm going to make sure that this part is towards the inside of the wreath so it doesn't scratch anything on the outside. At this time, I'm going around the whole wreath and just opening up those loops, making sure that our wreath is nice and full. And same thing on the outside row, of course. My wreath is all poofed out. Now it's time to prepare our 10-inch deco mesh and our ribbon. So our 10-inch deco mesh is 18 feet, which means it's 6 yards. Since this is 6 yards, we're going to get 18 pieces at 12 inches. Usually when I do curls for the wreath bundles, I cut them in 10 inches, but you can see this is fairly see-through. And if you divide 6 yards by 18, you're going to get 12 inches. So you know what? Why not? But if you're using a deco mesh that's kind of on the thicker side, 10 inches is more than enough. Since both of our ribbons are only 4 yards, we're going to get 12 pieces at 12 inches in length. So I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to measure my 12 inches and I'm going to zigzag. Now that my ribbon is zigzagged, I'm just going to go on both sides and cut little triangles, and that way we get dovetails and cut the ribbon at the same time. With the 2.5 inch ribbon being done, I'm going to do the same thing with the 1.5 inch ribbon. As far as the curls that we're going to do 1 purl per pipe cleaner because we have 18 pipe cleaners and we have 18 pieces of the 10-inch deco mesh. But for the ribbon, what we're going to do is we're going to put full bundles in the center, meaning I'm going to put one of these and one of these in the center. And on the outside, we're just going to do every other going all the way around because don't forget, we still have greenery coming. I'm going to start from the inner row, make my curl. On top of my curl, I'm going to put the 2.5 inch, then 1.5 inch, and that's my bundle. Going to squeeze it in the center, attach it to the pipe cleaner, and I'm going to do a few twists at this point. You can twist a little bit and then cut off the excess and then just fold it back or whatever you like to do at this point. Let's do bundle number 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. First our curl, then our 2.5 inch ribbon, our 1.5 inch ribbon, crisscross it, gather in the center, and attach. The inside row is done, and look how our wreath is transforming already. Now for the outside row, I'm going to grab one of my Deco mesh pieces, curl to make a cute little curl. Grab one of your ribbon, squeeze in the middle, and attach. At this point, I'm not going to need the pipe cleaner anymore, so I'm going to twist about 1 inch in, cut off the excess, and just fold it back. The next one I'm going to put on is, of course, the 1.5 inch, and I'm going to go all the way around using every other. Now let's take care of the sign. The first thing I'm going to do is get rid of the jute cord in the back. As always, I'm going to be using a few pieces of leftover or scrap piece of felt that I cut into little rectangles. I'm going to grab 3 pipe cleaners. The reason I'm using 3 instead of 2 is if you have 2 pipe cleaners right here, you do have a chance of the actual sign kind of swaying down. This is why you want the third one to hold it up. Let's just fold in half. As usual, I make a little seat. If you are new to my channel, that it's not usual, and I do apologize for that, but this is how I usually attach pipe cleaners to a sign. Now I'm putting some hot glue on top and bottom, and my felt piece is going to go right over the top, and it's going to just melt that pipe cleaner in place, and no matter what, this is not going to move. This method has not failed me so far, so guess what? I keep on doing it. Now that my pipe cleaners are dry, I'm just going to fold them down, and I want to take care of this part right here because this is messed up. This leaf is glued on sideways. It doesn't match the greenery that I'm using necessarily, so I decided to just remove it. Now I'm going to choose one of the greenery pieces from the actual greenery that I'm using, and I'm thinking of doing something like this. I am going to shorten it because there's a little, I don't know, like a little hole right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove that and kind of work it in this way. And then I'm going to use the greenery right here to cover that up. Starting with the bottom part, I'm going to make sure that where the actual staple was is covered. And I want to make sure that all the wording is visible. So I'm just going to hot glue here, hot glue there, then the top part. Now that my sign is taken care of, let's attach it to the wreath. To attach the sign, I'm moving as much of this ribbon as I can to the side so it's facing out. I can put it in place later, but I really want to sink the sign in. What I have found is when you sink the sign into the wreath a little bit, it just becomes a part of the wreath. It looks natural, it looks beautiful. And so let me just flip this over. I'm just going to do one twist on each of the connections. Then I'm going to see what it looks like, if it looks nice and centered on the wreath. And then I'm going to come back and tighten it. I think it's sitting really nicely. Since everything is in place, including our sign, our deco mesh, except the greenery, of course, I'm going to take care of the back right now. So first things first, I'm going to look where my top is, flip that over, and I'm going to grab the jute cord that we removed from this sign in the beginning. I'm going to put it on an intersection on row 3 and just do one tie because this is a fairly thick jute cord. And then I'm going to pull it through the front of the actual wreath form. That way the knot is hidden and all you have is the hanging loop. Next, I'm going to bring in a placemat. I get these at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to be using 3 zip ties, and I use tiny ones. These are 4-inch zip ties, and the reason I like them is they go through the netting really easily. I'm going to zip tie it, cut off the tail, and send this little nub thing to the back. That way the walls aren't scratched or wherever this wreath is going to hang. I'm looking at my first zip tie, draw an imaginary triangle, and that's where my second and third zip tie are going. I'm going to have a hard time parting with this one because I think it's absolutely just beautiful. You could hang it somewhere in the house. The wording of the sign is just, oh, so lovely. And now I'm going to go around around and make sure my ribbon is nicely laid out. This is usually my last step, but in this case, because the greenery is going to go in between, I need to do this before I attach the greenery. So let me go all the way around and take care of the ribbon. Now that my ribbon is nice and pretty, I'm going to bring in my glue skillet and let me give it a quick little mix just to make sure that all the palettes have melted. For the actual skillet, you can either use these skillet little palettes or just throw in a glue stick. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to detach all this greenery. I have all my greenery sorted so that I can make sure that everything fits nicely. Now, I have 2 more of these that I used on there. So I'm going to put one on this side and the other one on this side. Now I'm just going to dip into my little pot and in it goes, just like that. And I'm just attaching it to the Deco mesh that surrounds it. I have 3 of these and I'm basically going to put them in between. And the rest of the greenery, I'm just going to start scattering throughout. Now that the greenery is in, I'm going to go around one more time and make sure the ribbon is out. Make sure the greenery is laying nicely. If there's any spider webs from the hot glue, make sure you get rid of those. If there's any frays, get rid of those. And that's it. You are ready to hang this beautiful wreath in your home 365 days a year, because it will match any season. And I think it's just one of those pretty wreaths you can actually hang inside your home somewhere. Well, I love you too, but what about the wreath? What about you guys? If you like the way this wreath came out, don't forget to put a green emoji, maybe a green heart or a green leaf, anything to let me know you've actually made it this far in the video. And by the way, thank you so much. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. If you are new to this channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you are notified every time a video comes out. For now, I prepared 2 videos for you right here. I think we're going to say bye-bye. Someone always has to, yeah, I know. You didn't yawn this time at least. I take it back. All right. Bye, guys. Mwah. Mwah.